who was on the ropes in a game that was 28-0 early in that game. All of a sudden, Bryce Young gets hurt. All of a sudden, a backup quarterback is in the game. Jalen Milroe. Nobody really knew what to expect. All of a sudden, Arkansas was making some plays, and then they pulled away late. Milroe had the massive run that made highlight reels everywhere. The updates out of the game are that Bryce Young has a shoulder injury. It is not too serious, is what we're being told. Nobody really knows when to expect him back. Milroe in relief, 2 touchdowns, 4 for 9 passing the ball. But if we were to overreact here, we could go either the positive direction or the negative reaction. I'm going to go positive, though. This is what we have on the list today. Alabama's going to be just fine. They're not going to skip a beat with their backup quarterback, Jalen Milroe. Felder, what do you think?
I think they're going to skip a beat, but I think they're going to be okay. And what we're going to see is them go into what Nick Saban did from 2008 until 2015 at Alabama, which is just run the ball as much as you can and eat up the clock and swallow time, make the game shorter and lean on your defense. And I think that's going to be the most interesting part of it. Jahmyr Gibbs, I thought, was really special. And he's a guy that not just, you don't have to hand it to him, you can throw it to him too. So I think that's going to be a big part of it. I think Milroe still's got a long way to go. I mean, there's a reason he only threw the ball 9 times. In that same amount of time, Bryce Young would have probably thrown the ball 18 times. Am I wrong, Max?
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And for me, like I look at it, and that was exactly where I was going to go, is that we are going to see early Saban. And that is, let that big hulking offensive line that you've been growing genetically in a lab behind the football field since he's been there. Let those guys go chew up earth. Let them be earth movers, because Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely a prototypical Bama back. He can shoulder the burden. And we saw it, right? I mean, the dude racked up over 200 yards on the ground. So just as good as Arkansas thought they were with rushing the football and everything, Alabama said, hold my beer real fast. Let me show you how it's done, son. Come on over here to the woodshed.
You want to talk about hold my beer. Will Anderson on that 3rd down where he gets into the backfield, disrupts the mesh point, forces KJ to keep it and take a step back while tackling Sanders. Like, I understand that we love quarterbacks a ton, but how is he not the first pick?
He will be the first pick when it's all said and done, I feel, because whoever gets that number 1 pick has been up there already and probably already has that quarterback, and they're not going to waste back-to-backs. So I think he goes number 1. Worst case scenario, maybe 2 at the latest. But I mean, he's by far the most devastating defensive lineman that, we're always worried about. Oh my God, he needs to have stats. Why isn't his stats good? It's like, because we've known about him since he's been a freshman in college. That's why he doesn't need stats. And he keeps showing up, like you said, in those moments. That's all you need at this point. He doesn't need to have 16 sacks and lead the country in sacks this year. Will Anderson needs to keep being Will Anderson, because every team knows who he is. He's number 1 on the bullseye chart here. It's like, okay, we're going up against the Bama defense. Okay, Will Anderson. Okay, well, what defensive structure do they run? They run Will Anderson, okay? That's what they do, okay? And then once we stop Will Anderson, then we can focus on the rest of the team. But stop Will Anderson's number 1, 2, and 3 on the priority list.